The rain was coming down in a fine mist as Eleanor slipped through the sliding glass doors of JFK Airport, her worn leather handbag clutched tightly to her side. Her hair, graying at the roots, was pulled into a neat bun, and she wore the same modest navy coat she had worn every winter for the past decade. There was nothing flashy about her, nothing that suggested she was married to one of the wealthiest men in the country. She wasn't flying for pleasure. Eleanor hated flying. She was only here because her sister, Margaret, was having surgery in Chicago, and she refused to let her face it alone. That was Eleanor, a woman who quietly put everyone else's needs before her own, who never asked for recognition, and who believed in small, consistent acts of kindness. As she reached the check-in counter, she offered the clerk a soft smile. "Hello, I'm booked on the 10:15 flight to Chicago. First class." The young woman behind the counter barely glanced at Eleanor's ID before her eyes flicked over the older woman's modest appearance. Her expression shifted. "Ma'am, are you sure you're in the right line? First class is for premium passengers only. You might want to check economy down the hall." Eleanor blinked, taken aback. "But this is the right ticket. My husband booked it." The clerk's voice grew sharper. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. You're holding up the line." Behind her, a businessman cleared his throat impatiently. Eleanor's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She fumbled through her bag, pulling out the reservation. Still, the clerk wasn't satisfied. "This has to be a mistake. There's no way someone like you is flying first class. Please, step aside." Eleanor swallowed hard. Years ago, she might have fought back. But the world had taught her that people often judged what they didn't understand. She stepped aside, heart heavy, wondering if her sister would wake up alone after all. Just then, a voice thundered from her phone. She had unknowingly pocket-dialed her husband during the ordeal. "Eleanor. What's going on?" She explained in a whisper, embarrassed. The line had moved on. The clerk ignored her now. "Give me the name of the airline rep who said this to you." Now, her husband's voice was calm, but Eleanor knew that tone. It meant storm clouds were forming. 10 minutes later, everything changed. The airport manager, a man in an impeccable suit, came rushing down the terminal. Behind him were two more officials, all looking panicked. They reached the counter, breathless, eyes scanning for the woman who'd unknowingly stirred the wrath of one of the most influential men in the business world. "Mrs. Ford. Mrs. Eleanor Ford." The young clerk paled as the manager approached. "Mrs. Ford, we are deeply sorry for the unacceptable treatment you received. Please accept our sincerest apologies. You'll be escorted to the lounge while we prepare your flight." Eleanor hesitated. "It's not about me. She just didn't believe someone like me could afford first class. But she's probably overworked and tired. Please don't punish her." The manager bowed his head. "Ma'am, your kindness is noted. But this isn't just about one interaction, it's a pattern we've seen, and it must change." By the time Eleanor was comfortably seated in first class with a warm drink in hand, the news had already spread. Social media buzzed with the story of a humble woman denied dignity because she didn't look the part, and the loving husband who made the world stop for her. But what happened next was even more unexpected. Instead of berating the staff or making a scene, Eleanor asked to meet with the team. She shared her own story, how she grew up in a working-class family, how she worked 3 jobs before her husband's startup succeeded, and how she knew what it meant to be unseen. Her words weren't bitter. They were full of grace. She told them about the kindness of strangers who once bought her groceries, about the teacher who believed in her when no one else did, about the power of humility. The staff listened. Some cried. By the time she left the lounge, the air was different. The manager announced a new training initiative focused on empathy and inclusion, at Eleanor's suggestion. She offered to help design it, even volunteering to speak. Weeks later, Eleanor and her husband, Thomas Ford, established the See Her Foundation, providing training and scholarships for frontline workers in hospitality and transportation, encouraging kindness, respect, and human dignity. The clerk who had dismissed her. She wasn't fired. Instead, she was offered a place in the program. With Eleanor's encouragement, she accepted, and transformed. The incident that began with humiliation became a ripple of change. And Eleanor? She returned home to her quiet life, tending her garden and making soup for neighbors. But across the country, airports buzzed with the story of the woman who didn't look like wealth, but who carried something richer than gold, a heart that believed in the good in people, even when they failed her. Because Eleanor Ford wasn't just a simple woman. She was a reminder that power used gently can transform lives, and that sometimes, the most extraordinary people are the ones we overlook. And that, perhaps, is the simplest truth of all.